We certainly want to see banks succeed in this new world order.
But that's not all. Those aren't the only ways to pay people these days.
That's right. You could also use blockchain technology. Blockchain's kind of a master electronic ledger that records transactions. It's often used with a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin or like a currency we'll talk a little bit about today called XRP. And supporters say that blockchain technology is actually faster and cheaper as a way of sending money.
But there's also these worries I think people have. Both they've heard that blockchain technology is used to send huge amounts of money in the illegal drug trade or the arms trade or the like, or like anything else that you have, you worry that you've got your crypto wallet and now your crypto wallet gets hacked, and then what happens to you?
That's right. And there are legal issues that correspond to all these concerns, including a big legal issue that's coming up, which is what are these cryptocurrencies legally? Are they currencies like a dollar, and should they be regulated like that? Or are they really more like securities, like a share of stock?
So we're really lucky today to have two people who understand this stuff, unlike me, to talk about it. The first of them is our colleague Joe Grunfest at the law school. Joe teaches corporate law. He teaches securities regulation. He used to be a commissioner on the Securities Exchange Commission, which is the federal government agency that regulates securities.
And our other guest is Brad Garlinghouse. Brad is the CEO of Ripple, which I think can safely be called the leading firm in this space, depending how you define the space. He's a 20-year veteran of Silicon Valley.
So one of the things, Brad, is your company introduced XRP as a cryptocurrency. Who uses it, and why do they use it rather than one of the like credit cards or a regular banking system?
So first off, thanks for having me. Great to be here. Great to be with Joe. I will correct one thing right out of the gates. Ripple did not actually issue XRP. The XRP ledger is an open source, decentralized technology, not dissimilar than Bitcoin. And some of the creators of the XRP ledger actually had been early engineers that worked on Bitcoin, and they saw some of the scalability problems that Bitcoin was likely to have, the speed, both from a energy consumption, cost, some of the other problems, and they wanted to build a better digital asset to solve some of these problems. The second thing I'll just comment on briefly is often you'll notice I often will call these broadly digital assets and not cryptocurrencies. And this is less of a legal distinction and more of a pragmatic human distinction that I don't think we're going to be buying coffee at Starbucks with Bitcoin or XRP anytime soon. I think we got to ask ourselves, what problem is that solving? You were talking about paying for the day spa bill and how you do that, but I think in some ways, the friction, the fiat currency, the U.S. dollar in this case, works pretty well, and so we need to make sure it's better than that before we talk about it as a currency.
Yes, what are the places where digital assets are the best way of transferring wealth from one person to another?
Well, I'll talk my own book a little bit here, because Ripple is using digital assets to solve a cross-border payments problem. Some people, I'm sure, listening have had this experience, and maybe some of us have had the experience. If you're sending money across oceans, across networks, it ends up being really slow and really expensive. I make the joke, which in some ways isn't at all a joke, that if we decided we wanted to take $10,000 to London right now, the fastest way to do that would be to drive down to SFO down 101 and fly it there. This, despite the fact that we live in a world where you can stream video from the space station, it would take 3 to 5 days to wire money to London, and the cost would be not immaterial. I was speaking with a gentleman at the World Bank not long ago, and the average remittance cost outside the G20 is 600 basis points, and the populations can at least afford to pay those fees are the ones burdened with that.
And that's 6%. Right.
Yes, 600 basis points is 6%.
Okay, and tell us a little bit on how you're solving that.
So what we do is we sell technologies to banks that allow them to connect to what we call RippleNet, and that allows them to do cross-border payments in real time, effectively real time, at very, very inexpensive fees. So another important piece is it's transparent. I mean, one of the humorous, frustrating things that we may have experienced if you're sending a wire cross-border and you call your bank and Joe Bankman says, hey, Brad was sending me money, it hasn't arrived, your bank doesn't know where it sits. Because the nature of how this works, it kind of hops through different hops. We had one of the largest banks in Australia, the CEO told me that 40% of all of their consumer wire transfers result in a customer service phone call. And the reason is they wait a few days and they say, hey, Joe hasn't received the wire. Where is it? The frustrating thing for the bank is not only do they have to absorb the cost of taking a customer service phone call, they also deliver the news that they don't know. Wait a couple more days, it'll probably be there. That's a pretty bad experience. And that truly is our global financial ecosystem is built on the rails that I'm describing that were built 40 or 50 years ago and haven't advanced. Blockchain technologies can fundamentally re-engineer and kind of rewire that base layer to dramatically accelerate and reduce the cost associated with these payments.
Peters, a little bit, you alluded to it briefly before, the difference between Ripple and XRP, which has a certain connection with Ripple. I know it wasn't officially issued by Ripple, and Bitcoin, because I think people have not heard, if you don't know cryptocurrency, you might not have heard of Ripple or XRP. Everybody's heard of Bitcoin.
Sure.
So could Bitcoin do this too?
Actually, I'll answer the first part. Ripple and XRP. Ripple is a technology company that builds technologies on top of this open source technology called XRP. Some of our products are built 100% using XRP, and some, frankly, have nothing to do with XRP. You could use Bitcoin for some of the products we offer. The problem is, as I was describing earlier, Bitcoin has some serious scalability challenges. Today, to settle a Bitcoin transaction costs on average about $1.88. So if you're buying a cup of coffee with Bitcoin, it's going to, almost double the price of the cup of coffee. And to settle a Bitcoin...
Drink cheap coffee.
My coffee turns out, in San Francisco, that's hard to do. But it would also take, on average, 45 minutes to settle that transaction. Now, as Joe was describing earlier...
By which time your cheap coffee is cold.
Yes.
Cheap coffee.
So you bought cold, cheap coffee, and you had to pay a premium for it, and you had to wait until it was cold to get it. So the observation I make is Bitcoin is good for, and by the way, I am personally long Bitcoin. I'm not trying to bash Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is not going to be a panacea that some people thought it would be for many different kinds of transactions. And instead, you're seeing specialized and kind of use case dynamics for different kinds of transactions. XRP is something we see as extremely efficient for settling payment transactions, and in particularly cross-border transactions. You're talking about over $20 trillion of cross-border transactions, and if you can reduce the average bips per transaction by 100 basis points, you're talking about massive savings that go to certainly financial institutions, but also ultimately their customers, whether it's consumers or businesses.
This just got us. So who's arguing that these things are securities, and why are they arguing that?
Well, number one, you've got people who have bought some of these instruments and have lost money, taking their counterparties to court and arguing that what you sold me was a security and you didn't register it as a security, and therefore I get my money back. So what you have is a group of dissatisfied purchasers arguing that their crypto was a security, should have been registered, and wasn't.
So can I just step you there for a second and ask, how did they lose money on the currency? Is it like if you bought dollars and the dollar went down against the pound?
Precisely. Losing money in the markets is a very easy thing to do, Pam. I'm happy to show you why and how. Basically, if you buy high and sell low, you will lose money. So suppose you bought some crypto and it was $1,000, all right, per unit when you bought it, and now it's only $250. You're out $750 for every unit of crypto you bought. You turn around and you say, this crypto isn't just crypto, it's a security. You should have registered it. You didn't, therefore I want my money back.
Now that makes sense, Joe. Thank you for something like Bitcoin or XRP. How about these things that are called ICOs? There's thousands of...
And the other half of what I do is regulation, broadly speaking. So it's the bills moving through Congress. It's whether we'll get approval from a regulatory agency, things like that.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget
forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And we have the Bankman's dad and Ripple's XRP, Brad Garlinghouse, speaking about Bitcoin and XRP and the benefits. And guys, I remember seeing his video a long time ago. And we know the Bankman's dad and mom are professors at Stanford. And because the crypto community is so small, especially when you go further back, you always get some type of connection. And when the gentleman is explaining securities, we see Brad Garlinghouse putting the head down. And he explained it perfectly. And of course, this is 2 years before any type of lawsuit with the SEC. That's why these videos are so hilarious. But we get to see the Bankman's dad was no stranger to crypto. And you can tell he's a very bright guy. And of course, if you put the Bankman in there, MIT graduate, and already put the pieces together for the hidden agenda. And not only was the Bankman working on derivatives, we can see his dad helping out because we know that he was getting paid. And then we also know the Bankman and family was paying off the politicians. And guys, we can see the NWO fingerprints all over this. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
We're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort. And China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money.
The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Drama Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Drama Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Drama Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.